Hey, Gaybros,
Hey, Gaybros Jose.
where are we today?
Today, despite many California businesses being opened, we are in our respective apartments. And why is that, Jose?
Because today it was a happy day. It was the day that I actually got my second shot.
Congratulations. It must be very nice to be fully vaccinated.
You tell me about it. You have been like more than a week vaccinated.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
My life has changed completely. But no, so far feels good. It has been like only 3 hours ago, so I'm just waiting for the side effects to just kick in. That's going to be fun.
Not to get into boring like vaccination talks, but I had a really rough time after my first shot. Absolutely nothing after my second shot. And you don't seem to have any side effects from either, right? Besides a sore arm.
Yeah, only on the first one, but mine was Moderna and yours was Pfizer. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm still like crossing my fingers for just being able to take a justified sick day tomorrow.
I'm gonna message you like, are you sick? I'm gonna be hopeful that you're having some sort of side effect.
Thank you. Just pray for that. I want my friend to get sick. But yeah, so in any case, leaving like vaccination on the side, what did we watch this time?
For this episode, we watched the 2001 Steven Spielberg film.
Let's just leave the adjectives on the side. Okay, yeah.
Artificial intelligence, AI. I couldn't exactly find what the actual name was. I don't know if it's AI or artificial intelligence, but regardless, Haley Joel Osment, Jude Law, robots.
Yeah, I think that it's actually both things, AI, artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they actually just added like the whole title just in case like no one knew what AI stands for.
And this was my pick, and I have to admit that when we watched Metropolis for our 100th episode, you said something about me not being into sci-fi. And I took a little bit of offense to that because I don't think that I dislike sci-fi. I have a hard time finding sci-fi that I like. So I enjoyed Metropolis for sure. AI has been on our to-be-watched list for quite a while. And I could be wrong, but I think you liked this film, at least to some degree, right?
No.
Oh,
I didn't.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's the reason.
Why did you put it on our list?
Because because we're talking about like Kubrick, and we're talking about like Ice White Shot being his last movie. But AI was one of his projects, and a part of me wanted you to watch it from the perspective of what could have been. And we will talk about it, but it's like it's a movie that has elements of other movies, of other narrative, that they're never like fully developed.
And it's interesting because what you told me, and I didn't know, is that essentially Stanley Kubrick was preparing to make this film. Stanley Kubrick died. For whatever reason, Steven Spielberg thought he could take over the project. And what is the example I gave you? Oh, it was Tom Tykwer. Tykwer took over Heaven when Kurzysław Kieślowski was supposed to direct this three film installation. And to be fair, I like Heaven with Cate Blanchett and I can't remember his name.
Phoebe's brother.
Yes, Phoebe's brother. Phoebe carried his triplets. Yes. So to be honest, I was expecting to like this film in a limited extent, thinking, okay, the original creator, the original artist couldn't see this through, but you could still see things that are of value. And I genuinely thought this was what was AI going to be like. Okay, it's Steven Spielberg. He's not as competent as Kubrick, but we're going to see some of Kubrick's genius come through.
Mm-hmm. Did you see it?
I was embarrassed for Steven Spielberg watching this film. I was like, he teed this film up for you? And this is what you made? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. No, I fully agree. That basically summarizes how I feel about it. Maybe we should just stop here, like just spare Spielberg from more. Is that, look, we already said what we had to say. From this point, it's almost like just beating a dead horse. But in any case, as this was your pick, I guess that I had to summarize this.
You do. You have to summarize it.
We have to. So this 2.5-hour movie, for just lack of a better term,
190 minutes. 190 minutes.
because it was needed, like that amount of time for just describing this. So there are like 3 differentiated acts in this movie. The first one is just like a family drama that is like it opens with a cybernetic company that they create replicas. Sorry, let me just take a step back. In the distant future, Earth is almost desolated. The poles have melted, and the sea has just destroyed like many cities, like Manhattan and others. I guess that's San Francisco too, but they never mentioned the West Coast because during the 2000s it was not cool to talk about San Francisco, and now it's like everyone destroys it.
That is very important, is that there's this tiny bit of exposition that says, hey, people aren't allowed to have children anymore.
No, it's regulated.
It's regulated. Yeah. It's heavily regulated. So continue.
Yeah, heavily regulated. So this company decides that as it's heavily regulated, what they should do is, instead of just doing adult droids, they should start doing also kid droids that they can just give love to their parents. And they're like just programmed for loving. So they create a prototype and they choose like the most faithful employee in the company for actually just giving the gift of robot love to them. And this family, the couple, they actually have a kid of their own that is in a coma, and it looks like he's never going to recover. They almost just tell that you have to just move on, give up on him, blah blah blah. So they onboard into this pilot program. They take David with them, and after a couple of interactions with the kid, they decide to just adopt him. They engrave the love. They actually just remove. It's almost like when you buy a phone and you know that they have like the protective sticker, and that is like they decide to remove the sticker because they know that they're going to keep it for.
Yeah, the parents had to decide like if they wanted or not the android kid, and if they decided to keep him, they had to allow the kid to imprint on the parents, which would make him love them like real parents. Yes.
Yeah, and if they do that, is that the kid cannot be, because technology. There are like some parts about like sci-fi that is like, look, you use sci-fi in this is a very liberal term here. Let's just leave it there. That is like, if they actually imprint it, is that we can never like remove that imprinting. Is that the only outcome of this is that we'll have to destroy it. But at the same time,
it was basically going to be trash after this.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have a droid that will live forever. It's like at some point the adoptive parents are going to die. So it's very tragic that you're saying that you're going to be attached to this, and the day that you die is going to the garbage directly.
Which I will say that all of that made sense to me. It made me emotionally invested. And I think part of the power of this film is that it takes place during a time where technology is just being discovered and they don't know kind of the consequences of what this technology is. That, I will say, completely worked for me in this film.
The thing is, I could see all of that, and this is the first time that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to repeat it multiple times, is that was the first time that I realized there are topics that you could develop, topics that they are like a bit deeper from what I'm seeing on the screen, and you are not capable of developing into anything because you want to just focus on what you see is what you get. You know, it's like everything are like small details, but you don't want me to think. You don't want me to just take a message about love, or you don't want me to take a message about dependency, or you want me to take me a message of obsession. You know, it's that you don't want that. You want to just tell me a story. You want to tell me like an enjoyable story. If you actually succeed in making it enjoyable or not, once again, it's almost 2.5 hours. And this is only the first act. So then magically the kid that it was supposed to be like their biological son suddenly recovers, and he goes back, and we start seeing like some tension of the brothers, like just basically fighting for the love of the parents, of the mother, because the father is like just basically an addendum to the family. Always is the most faithful employee of the company. And,
which let's say that this is it's a frustratingly boring interest that Steven Spielberg has. he wants to see children that are wronged by the world and don't have an existing dad, and the mother, I don't know, he's so interested in these children wronged by their parents but not having the parents be actual like present people that I find it exhausting and super boring.
Yeah, honestly, I found it derivative, like the story per se. I think that you have material here that you can do like something interesting. And it's pretty clear that there is like a lot of design work that it went into it. That is basically what Kubrick did is the initial design about like just doing like some sketches about stuff that he could actually use in the movie. And it's basically that's the part is that the world building part is not bad per se. The elements are interesting, but you don't do too much with anything. You turn it into this kind of enjoyable adventure because. And I think that is at the core of the movie, or what most people probably think about when they're thinking about this movie, is the second act. That is like after the kid, because Harry Jones made start like just doing some weird things, and he puts in danger the mother and also the biological son, is that the mother actually decides to just drop him, like abandon him. She said, I don't want to take you back to the factory because they could destroy you, so just have your life. It's better to let you just go than actually just get destroyed, because you're always going to love me and you have already that obsession. You're programmed to have that obsession. But in any case, and that's the second part, that is that he is running away, thinking about finding the blue fairy because he heard a Pinocchio narration. Well, the mother was reading the Pinocchio tale, and he said now he thinks that he finds the blue fairy, it will turn him into a real boy, because the analogy with Pinocchio was not clear enough at this point. They had to just go into no. He wants to become a real boy.
I'm literally right now, as you say this, getting upset at how stupid this film is.
No, I'm not saying no. It's like I don't disagree. And from that point, it turns into just the classic Steven Spielberg adventure movie with kids.
I completely agree. I could not stop thinking while I was watching this film that you could see the kind of timeless concepts that Stanley Kubrick was interested in exploring. I think like his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, there's an endless amount of information and ideas to kind of like think like, how does sex fit into our like relationships and I feel like Kubrick totally teed up like a concept that's super interesting, and Spielberg like kind of just dumbed it down and was
he butchered it. He
butchered it. Like it's brutal to watch these ideas, because I can see how this would have been like a thought-provoking piece by Kubrick, whereas Spielberg, he made it this like embarrassing, like family-friendly feature attraction.
Yep.
I don't even know how to say it like more than that, but it was like, really? This is what you took from the source material? And I was honestly embarrassed for Spielberg, because I feel like this is the best exposure into who he is as a filmmaker. And before we started to record, I was saying how much I like Jurassic Park, because Spielberg does have like a space where he's great at entertainment, at family-friendly entertainment. But artificial intelligence, I was like, no, this is embarrassing.
It feels like a formula,
Exactly.
Like the second act is almost like someone saying that is like, so what works for Spielberg? Okay, I'm going to do that. I think that this is going to work. And it's like, look, I don't know. I mean, this and it is that there is, I can see like exactly like the same elements. It felt like you are derivative. You are like derivative on your own work. That is even worse. And the interesting thing, I was talking with a friend about this, and I was saying that, look, for me, Spielberg has always been an entertainer. And he's an entertainer that I think that he's not capable of more. I will have to watch the Schindler List again, because I remember watching it, I felt like, well, it's still entertaining, but I think that it has a bit more to it. Not too much, because it's one story, as we have seen like many.
But there's something elevated.
Yeah, it's a bit, it's a bit more like the cinematography is better, like the style that he uses is better. But on this one, I felt it's like, this reminds me, I'm sorry for saying this, this almost makes me think of Steven Spielberg almost at the same level as Ryan Murphy. That is that you guys are not capable of doing like an elevated thing, but you know how to entertain people.
I will say that I do believe that Steven Spielberg is a little bit more talented than Ryan Murphy, but I 100% agree with you. Steven Spielberg has a shtick, and that's what he forces all of his stories into. It's not that he's a great storyteller. One of the things that I've found super frustrating with Steven Spielberg, and I think I've mentioned this to you in the past, but correct me if I'm wrong, is that he doesn't really know how to guide a story without overloading the senses of his viewers. So I remember being super frustrated with E.T. when everything is so loud. The kids are always fighting, they're shouting, and it's like he thinks that like having this chaos is the same as having a story, and it's not. And in artificial intelligence, I actually had to turn off my subwoofer because there was so much background noise that I couldn't pay attention to the rest of the film. And I thought, this is what Steven Spielberg is. He puts noise and he puts flashy things, but there's no story.
Yeah. No, there is a story, but it's a story that is not an important story. It has like good material there, you know, but it's not. So let's just go back. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, you.
No, because I was going to be like moving to something else.
No, I was just saying that like you can see that in the source material there is this idea about where does humanity stop? Where does it continue on? If there's a robot, you know, like all of these things are very interesting and important questions. And I feel like if Kubrick had the opportunity to explore this material, it would have been 100% timeless. It would have been interesting. It would have changed the way I thought about myself and about what I think about artificial intelligence. And because Spielberg took over it, none of the things that could have made this important existed.
Yep. No, I fully agree. I couldn't agree more with that. So in any case, going back on the Act 2, it turns into a story for David trying to find the Blue Fairy, and he runs into a robot gigolo that is played by Jude Law, and he basically becomes his protector. He becomes David's protector. So the second act finished, like just arriving. I don't want to dive too much into all that happens in that part. It ends actually just going to Manhattan, and they find, I think that cinematography wise, I like that idea of the Manhattan like just being like completely in the water, like sank in the water. And it's like we discovered that the how do you say, like the cybernetic company that makes no sense whatsoever, they're actually in that Manhattan. You know, there's like one of the tall buildings that you have like the last 20 or 30 floors. It's like, it's there. That is like that. How do you guys power this up? You know, and you have like a manufacturing, you know, plant on this. Is what?
In Manhattan, nonetheless.
The what?
In Manhattan, nonetheless.
Yeah,
There's like this, you know, a factory in Manhattan.
Yeah. But in any case, at the end is that they say that David, after violently murdering another of the robots, another of the instances of David, that I find that I see like fucking disturbing. About like, are we supposed to feel good or bad about this kid? Because he just blatantly like smashed the head off another David.
I feel the same way. It was like, okay, this robot is dangerous and should not exist. Are we still supposed to care for him? Like,
yeah. So, well, in any case, the doctor who plays the doctor, the professor.
I can't think of his name, but he was also the bad guy in A History of Violence by Cronenberg. Do you remember? Oh fuck! I can't think of his name. Let me pull it up.
Let me just. I have it here. It's not Bigomore. William Hurt?
Yes, that's it.
Huh. Yeah. All right. So he comes out and he says that it's like, well, you are humanity. Basically, you represent humanity because we never called you or never like scheduled you for actually just being obsessed with his tale and the idea of becoming a real boy, and you actually learned that. So we guide you here because we thought that this is something that that you would actually come back to us when you disappear. And then after embracing reality that there is no blue fairy or anything, he just quote unquote commits suicide. He throws himself into the water. Stuff happens, then he actually takes a helicopter that he goes underwater too, and he just finds an amusement park where there is a blue fairy. They have like a section that is like just themed by Pinocchio, and he just stays there like obsessed with the blue fairy, like saying like, make me a real boy. And millennia happens, so that's the end of the second act that I find. I remember like when I watched it the first time, is that I like this ending. We could actually just stop here. It's a really bitter kind of ending. And I think that it works partially.
So something with this film that just didn't work for me, and I mentioned this earlier, is that Steven Spielberg is obsessed with a child's view of the world and how grown-ups fail children. I think that's consistent in all of his movies.
Yeah.
Kids always know better. This really annoyed me watching this entire film until ultimately this kid, who isn't a real child, he essentially chooses to commit suicide in bed with his mother. And I thought...
Whoa. Yeah,
really?
Wait a second. So the third act is like this hilarious, I don't know if hilarious, infuriating, maybe, like 20, 30 minutes, that basically 2 millennia in the future, hyper-evolve robots, we assume. They're never like really explaining it. They could be aliens, but let's say that they're robots because they can interact with the old robots too. They wake up Harry Osmond, and they just, with one of the most bizarre explanations of sci-fi, is that they say, look, as you actually kept like some hair from your mom, we can bring her back, we can replicate her, but she can only live one day. One day, and at night she would disappear forever, and we can never bring her back. And he's like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm all in. I'm completely all in. He's like, we don't know if he commits suicide, but in any case, we actually see the last day, and at the end of the day, she goes to sleep, and it's pretty clear that she's going to die.
Yeah, he didn't kill himself, but he went to the place of dreams that he had never been able to achieve. My interpretation is that he essentially committed some form of suicide where he was so happy that he had connected with his mommy, and he chose to end his life in that bed. And I thought, this is Steven Spielberg at his finest. This is the extent of what he has to say as an artist. And for me, it's not fucking enough. It's
because he's not an artist. He's not an artist.
He's not an artist, no.
It's like, when I think about it, and I was talking with my friend, it's like if I actually compare David Lynch and Spielberg, it's like it's embarrassing from Spielberg. That he knows how to entertain people. David Lynch doesn't care if you're entertained. He doesn't, because he's not making cinema for you. He's making cinema for himself. And if some people enjoy it, that's great.
I agree, and I've said this before, but I genuinely feel embarrassed for Steven Spielberg because of this film. Like, I'm sure he saw it as important, continuing Kubrick's work, and I felt like it really, really exposed him for his limitations. And just, was it 6 months ago, you and I went and saw Jurassic Park for your birthday because that's what you wanted. You loved that movie.
Well, let's just say that it was a bit by elimination, and I remember, liking it the only single time that I watched it, and I know that it was one of your favorites.
Yeah, you don't like Jurassic Park. I fucking love that movie. I think Steven Spielberg shined. Shined?
Yeah.
But the second he tries to tackle a little bit more like complex material, or he tries to have a statement about, hey, this is who we are as humans, look at, like, holding a mirror up to humanity, it's just so obvious. Like, I feel like Lars von Trier would have done so much better with this material, because at least while he might fail, he has something to say. Steven Spielberg had nothing to say here, and it just felt gross the entire time.
But the reason why I felt so infuriated with this movie, as you said, is like he didn't have anything to say. But it's almost, you see the elements of another movie, of many other movies along the way. It's like, and you actually chose to do like this road movie trip on the second act. Is this the best that you can do? And I'm not saying that it's bad per se, but it's like you have been actually, and I was thinking right now that it's like Ready Player One, that is also from Spielberg. That is like there is nothing here. It's like this is the best that you can do in 2001. Is that there is no hope for you.
But if you think about this script during Kubrick's time with Eyes Wide Shut, and you thought, what's Kubrick going to do next? He's going to direct this film. You know that the way he would question things, he would ask questions about who we are as humans, and it was just so obvious that Kubrick couldn't do that, and it was awful.
That is Spielberg. That Spielberg couldn't do it. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit more like, I don't know. Like, imagine that you see one of these like talent shows of high schoolers, and you see someone like performing on the piano like the Fifth Symphony, and it's like, wow, that has been incredible. And then you see the next kid is just playing the triangle, and it's like, and he hits the notes, and it's like, okay, maybe there is some kind of charm to, you tried, but at the same time you're saying, it's like, what the fuck? It's like, if this was not a project that it came from Kubrick, from one of the best directors ever, it's like, it would be like, okay, it's Spielberg. But this makes it worse. This makes it, it's like, okay, the last movie that we had, it was Eyes Wide Shut. That is true that it divides people. But then Spielberg is almost like just peeing on his grave.
And I honestly wonder, I could not watch this film without thinking, Stanley Kubrick would have knocked this out of the park.
Yep.
And I think that influenced my opinion of the Spielberg film, and I don't know if I would be as critical of it. I know that I feel like this is a shitty film. There's nothing interesting here, but I hope that the fact that this should have been a Kubrick film doesn't decrease my value of the film. Does that make sense?
I think that it's impossible to separate both things.
I agree. Yeah.
It's like, it's what it is. It's what I was saying earlier, about the kid with the triangle, is that the kid with the triangle could be the opener, and you would be like, okay, we are in for a ride, and then someone comes around. That is
Steven Spielberg, the guy with the triangle.
Is.
Everyone's very impressed, and he's so proud of himself.
If he's the first one, you would actually just clap at him and be like, well, it's going to be garbage, the whole show. But it's like, good for try, A for effort. But, when you come from something that has been amazing up to this point, that is most of the career of Kubrick, and then you turn it into this, it actually just puts in a perspective. It puts Spielberg in a perspective that he should have never allowed himself to be put in.
I agree. I think Steven Spielberg should have had a much better understanding of who he is as a director and never tried to attempt this ever.
Like Tom Tickwer.
Like what?
Like Tom Tickwer.
Let me think about that, because I genuinely enjoyed Heaven. Genuinely.
I know. I'm giving you shit. I think that for me it didn't work. I was checking the score. I think that you gave it an 8 and I gave it a 6. That is like,
But if you look at it as an exercise of technical film capabilities, you cannot deny that Tom Tickwer has something that even Spielberg lacks. There's something to Heaven that's a tiny, tiny bit elevated. I'm not saying it's a great film, but Spielberg couldn't elevate Kubrick's script. How insane is that?
No, I agree. I mean, to be completely fair, I don't think that the script of AI was by Kubrick. Let me just check. But I think that is not from him. No, the screen story is by Ian Watson. I think that Kubrick just came up with some of the topics. That he was going to be just telling in the story. But I don't think. Yeah, the screenplay is actually by Spielberg directly.
And it shows.
Yeah, and just started with some concept arts and the likes, from Kubrick, and it's like he may be in something interesting. I'm going to do a road movie. It's called a road movie. Like the ones that yeah. The second act is that, it's like at the end you end up with 3 disjointed acts that they don't drive anywhere.
And at some point, like, Jude Law is this main character in the second act, and then he just disappears. It's like, it's just bizarre. This entire film is bizarre. And I feel like, as I've said, like, Steven Spielberg, he does have a space where he can shine 100%. Jurassic Park's an example. But with this script, it was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I agree. This was not okay, let's just say. And I
will say that Haley Joel Osment, in his performance as a robot, like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
That kid's amazing. Holy shit. I feel like what we watched him do on the screen, it blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that Jude Law is okay, with what he does.
He's fine, yeah.
Yeah, But for just getting that kind of performance of a 12-year-old kid, it was pretty impressive, But a part of me, I had to say this, and you knew that this was coming. A part of me was thinking about, I wish that there was some kind of modernization that they also use Haley Joel Osment. And it's like, like a bear programmed to love you.
You would like it if Haley looked in this film like he does now, today.
It would be like a pretty weird film then. If the story is like just remain digitally, it was pretty weird. It's like, I'm programmed to love you. As your song is like, this is an incestuous fantasy that I don't have. I'm sorry, I'm out.
But also, I feel like Haley Joel Osment's lines towards the end of the film are super expressive or representative of who Steven Spielberg is as a director. And he's like, I want mommy to love me. I want mommy to tell me that she loves me 100 times a day. Like, oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just, there are like some things that is like, look, this comes a bit more like from your perspective in the world than actually just trying to make any kind of message.
Exactly. I think he was more interested in exploring whatever shit he has from his childhood more than exploring these timeless ideas of what it means to be a human and what it means to be, intelligent and the things we need to like make us feel happy or fulfilled, which I think are the things Kubrick would have really explored and made this worthwhile film that I think I would have really, really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I agree. But as those things were not there, I don't think that we enjoyed it so much.
No, I did not enjoy this film. Actively upset at it.
Yeah, I think that I brought you the following day that I actually just passed on other plans. Because of that, it's true that some other stuff happened with those plans later, but in any case, it's like I actually at that point I felt angry at the movie. That is, look, it was not because I was missing it for just watching Metropolis, like a timeless piece of art. It's like, no, I miss it for watching a middle of the road shitty entertainment movie that it doesn't succeed on anything that it just sets itself to do.
Nowhere does it succeed on anything. Because even the special effects were not that great.
The problem that the special effects, I remember, is that when it came out, it was like, wow, the special effects are great, but it has like 2 problems. The first one is from early stages of special effects. That is that they have to be like looking at the camera. Is that most of the special effects are there just for saying that they can be there. That is like, we have the mediums for doing this. So it's like, just look at the at this robot that it only has the face. But why? I guess that's like for just shocking like the audience at that point, And then the second part is like, as they abuse so much of those special effects, is that he deliberately made this movie with the purpose of it's not going to age well. And it's the same thing with Ready Player One and the stuff. It's like he's like I don't know. We said this in Spanish, that is te gusta something, más que a un tonto un lápiz. That is that you like this more than a pencil. That is that they get obsessed with the pencil about like, oh my god, I love it. I need to use it every time. And it's like, it's the same thing. It's like it's the kind of thing that Spielberg had the feeling that is that he discovered special effects like pretty early in his career, and he's obsessed with just like trying to something that James Cameron also has, to be completely fair. But I think that James Cameron is even a tiny bit better about like holding himself back from it. And he's like Spielberg can't.
I completely agree with you. I think he's great at using special effects, and when he has a great script, again, Jurassic Park, it's kind of a timeless piece. But if he doesn't have that script that's going to completely carry him, his work firmly falls into the timely. This is what was super sexy in 1981 or 1991, whatever the time it is. He's great as having mass appeal in the current time, and he's very, very lucky to examine timeless pieces like the Holocaust film he did, or
Purple. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is a better director than Ryan Murphy. Of course he is. There is no doubt on that. But at the same time, it's like on this specific case, it's so clear that he doesn't know what to do with this movie. So he tried to do like a lot of things. There are like a ton of potential questions that if they were developed, it would be interesting to actually just have like a whole movie, just pick one topic and just be capable of driving this somewhere. Be thought-provoking. But it's like he can't because he's obsessed with what I'm displaying on the screen should be everything. I cannot make my audience think.
And I think what you just said about him not or being thought-provoking, that's never anything he's been able to achieve before, ever. He's not a thought-provoking director. He is somebody who entertains. Sometimes he does it very, very well. But I'm never going to walk away from a Steven Spielberg film and be like, wow, that's really changed how I perceive myself or how I perceive other people.
To be completely fair, when you watch Jurassic Park, it actually changed how you see the world.
So first off, Jurassic Park is the exception, not the rule. And I think he was very lucky to get into the script. I see what you're saying, but it's like
I just being devil's advocate here, you know.
I know you are, but like even the worst what's the name of the guy that we love to hate? Lars von Trier. Even the worst Lars von Trier film, you and I can come out of it and like enthusiastically discuss what we saw. Steven Spielberg, it's like, oh, we saw a McDonald's commercial. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that still we're like intensely discussing about this movie. You know, we're in agreement about it. You know, I think that it's like when I watch it, it's like I was like, okay, this is going to be 100% agreement that this was not a good movie.
So I'm super curious to hear your score. And my score has been all over the place throughout this entire discussion.
Oh no, from my discussion, it started at some point and it has only gone down. You know, it has been like, I'm confirming, you know, I'm rationalizing my dislike for this movie. It's like I'm just going back to the time that I saw it and I said like, this is not too good. And it's becoming like, I was absolutely right. It's like, what do I hate myself? Why do I actually just inflicted this on myself again?
So just to be clear, you saw this when it was in theaters the first time?
No, I watched it like some years later. You know, I think that when I was released, you could smell like this cinema in the 90s and 2000s that it was about like, you are only making this movie because you think that you're going to be attracting people to watch it because of the special effects. And I know also...
So you weren't in the first audience of, oh my God, AI is incredible. Okay.
Was there a first audience that they say like, AI is incredible?
I could be wrong, but I think there was a lot of love for this film, as it was like it had a lot of special effects. It was Steven Spielberg, it was Haley Joel Osment who had just done...
The Sixth Sense.
So I think this film got a lot of attention. I didn't see it when it came out, and I wanted to know when you saw it. But if you didn't see it when it came out, yeah.
No, I didn't. So from my perspective, it was a bit more of a, I'm going to be like watching this, maybe it was on TV, or maybe, holy shit, I hope that it wasn't in TV with commercials, because that would have been like 4 hours. No, but I think that it was probably on a, how do you say, like just on DVD or something like that. Someone just lent it to me. And I was just curious, because at that point I had already seen the Sixth Sense. I was like, yeah, this kid is on everything right now, but let's give it a try. Let's see if it's good or not. Because I also knew that it was like, it really divided people, and I really like sci-fi. And I said, well, maybe there is something, but I felt like so insulted by the third act. I felt like this is the dumbest thing that I ever seen.
It also felt as insulting as Christopher Nolan's Inception, where you think the movie's over, and you're like, no, there's an entire dream sequence to go through. We're gonna send you to crumbling Manhattan. I feel like that's what Christopher Nolan took as an inspiration in here, and I think it was equally as just like, none of this matters, none of it.
Because we are not, in this case, it's like, as you said, the first act is that you can actually think that it's like, okay, I'm going to be like getting emotionally invested on this, because this is going to be like a drama. Is that you have like this world setting, but then you actually are going to be like keeping the story small and just making about like the family dynamics. But it's like, no, then you actually just explode in scope, and you just make this rock movie, where they're traveling and just being chasing, and we actually see like other pieces of the reality. It's like, does this actually help? It's like, no, it doesn't. And it almost comes from the perspective, I almost can see like the sketches and all the notes from Ridley Scott say like, and I can do something like the Flesh Fair, where they actually destroy cyborgs, destroy like mechas. It's like, yeah, I can see like many ideas here, but you don't need to use them all. You don't. It's like, it's fine that those things exist as ideas. And you could even say that, look, if this is like really successful, I could even do like a second movie that is like another story set up in that world. And it would be interesting. It could actually be interesting. But when you do all of this Pinocchio bullshit, Mad Max and the likes, it's like I no longer know what he's trying to do.
And how many times did they bring up Pinocchio? Like, you don't have to like refer to the source material every 5 seconds in the remake.
Yeah, I just felt, I don't know, man. I just I don't know. I felt bad about this movie.
Yeah, I was honestly, I went into it thinking that I would probably like it a little bit, and I left the viewing thinking, this is insultingly stupid.
Thank you. You're helping me out, like just bringing it even lower. Just go on the movie. Should we go over the questions, or do you want to?
Yeah, I have them pulled up. Yeah, so,
but you see how it was right at the beginning when I told you, it's like maybe we should have stopped the recording right now, because I think that we're going to be like just beating a dead horse.
No, but let's. Sometimes we have interesting answers to the question, so let's just. Would you watch it again?
Hell to the no. But to the no, it's like this. Actually, I'm using this like some kind of cautionary tale. That is like, if a movie I thought that it was like completely dumb back in the day, probably should just let it be. It's like just this it. Move
yeah, I wouldn't watch it again, and I thought I was going to like this film more than I did, and no, like I will never revisit artificial intelligence again.
Would you recommend? Did you hate anyone enough to recommend this to them?
So to be honest, if there was somebody that was super into sci-fi and for some reason hadn't seen this film, I would be like, oh, check out artificial intelligence. I don't know. Don't judge me like that. I'm just saying, people that like sci-fi, if somebody is really liking sci-fi, this is the sort of film they want to see.
Okay, and the second one would be iRobot, no? Honestly, I mean, there is like
I haven't seen that film either, but
because it's also a piece of garbage, But it's like, what I see is like, if someone asks you, it's like, hey, look, I want to see. Let's see. I'm just trying to think. I want to see like a really good classical action movie, you know, it's like probably I will go with movie with from the 90s. You know, I wouldn't say like you should watch Avengers. I would say like you should watch Terminator, for example. I'm not going to be like telling you like a formulaic modern movie that is like it's just based upon like many other ideas that they came right now and it's only a cash grabber.
So you're saying that there's no person you would recommend AI to? Okay.
I even feel like a bit, I don't know, like guilty with myself for having put this in the list. You know, it's like I feel like I deserve the pain that I brought to myself.
No, you didn't recommend it. You just suggested we watch it. I'm actually completely okay that we actually watched it.
Okay. So you would recommend it to someone that likes sci-fi?
No, never.
Okay.
I would never recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I think that, for example, I think that my parents could get enjoyment out of this movie, but it's an enjoyment that I think that it comes with a price. You know, it's a bit more. It's like, look, you don't watch it for the sci-fi component. You watch it because of the kid, and because of the kid that is never going to grow up, and you know.
Because you think Haley Joel Osment is so compelling, he can carry a film.
I think that my parents could be more invested into that part. The first act, I think that they would be invested, and the third act, what happens on the second, they would be like, "This is dumb. This is as dumb as it gets," and I would be like in agreement, and I would say that the first act is not enough for a solid Oscar in this movie, and the third one is just insulting, just like that. But yeah, could you remember it?
Yeah, it's not a complex plot. It's not that interesting, but I'm going to remember, yes, Haley Joel Osment was an unwanted android, and he wanted to be wanted.
The general gist of it. I remember surprisingly a lot of it. I was like just surprised, you know, I knew exactly where it was going to end. And I just feel like I feel like I'm not going to forget it. Again, I'm not going to allow myself to forget anything about this movie.
And it's not like it was so heinous that we would never, I don't know. It's not that bad of a film. I mean, it is. I'm never going to want to watch this again, but it's not like it's, I don't know. What's the worst film you can think of? The Idiots. It's not like The Idiots, man.
But wait a second. In The Idiots, the problem that I have is like at least Lars von Trier is trying to do a tour de force. You know, it's true that it doesn't or something like that, but it's like at least I see that Lars von Trier is trying to do something.
But that's what Steven Spielberg tried to do. He thought this was going to be a fucking like home run, and he was so stupid. He was so unaware. Do you disagree?
No, I mean, I think that maybe he had like lofty intentions with this movie, but when I see the second act, it's like what I told you. It's like this is Spielberg. The second act is Spielberg, 100%. It's like it almost feels like you got to a point about saying that I just realized about something. I have no idea how to make a movie. If it's not about adventures, if it involves a kid, it has to be like about adventures. So let's go with adventures.
You know, when he re-enrolled in graduate film school, he just submitted the Holocaust film.
Schindler's List. Oh my God.
He submitted that as his like final, you know, graduation piece. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's really cool. He could create an amazing film. And I was like, if you had submitted artificial intelligence, you would have fucking failed because you are shit at making movies.
People would actually have realized what fraud you are. I mean, once again, I don't think that he's a fraud. I don't. You know, I think that he's an entertainer.
He has a place. Yeah. He isn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And from that perspective, it's like, it's good. From that perspective, it's like when you do what you know how to do, it's fine. But it's like in this case, it feels derivative. And it's even more painful when it's derivative about something that could have been unique.
I agree.
And it makes it like even more offensive to the audience. Yeah.
So, with that in mind, is there anything artistic about it?
No. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not. This is a piece of shit.
I just feel like I don't know how to say this with the right words. I just have the feeling that whatever kind of potential artistic intentions that they were here. He actually just brought them down and just mopped the floor with them.
Yeah, it's like he took the visionaries that gave us Metropolis, and he's like, how can I make this super, super family friendly and completely engaging without having any of the interesting original ideas?
Yeah, and just think for a second, it's like, we both define it as like, this is family friendly. This is like family entertainment, like Jurassic Park, for example. And one of the characters is a robot gigolo that needs to actually run away from the justice because one of his lovers is murdered and he gets framed for it. And he still feels family friendly. He still feels like, this is so...
And that opens up a lot, like a can of worms, because I also felt deeply uncomfortable with how I felt like they were connecting children's sexuality to this gigolo. I was like, Steven Spielberg's point of view of like the child wronged by their parents, it's getting too weird at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as you were saying, is like he has some themes, some recurring things that he likes to play with. But at the same time, I feel like he tried to keep those things, mixing it up with something else, and the end result is like, I don't know, it's almost like when a kid, like pretty young kid, tries to help for the first time in the kitchen, and the parents need to eat whatever they produce, with a face of, this is delicious. Who would have thought that, coffee on top of a cake could actually just work,
Yeah, this makes total sense. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, when you're like, I'm going to pay for this. So basically it's the same kind of feeling about like, look, you are good doing cakes. Don't try to mix it up with the kind. Yeah, don't try to mix it up with the kind of elements that Kubrick could have explored in a bit more of a smarter way. Just remove the robot gigolo. Just remove the whole second act.
Agreed, completely.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, is this a timeless piece?
No. I just feel like this is so stuck in the early 2000s that I don't think that you can move it anywhere else, just first from the aesthetic perspective, but second is because there is no message, there is nothing. It's like just like an adventure movie, and it's not like a transcendental adventure movie.
So I will say that I do think this is a timeless piece. I agree with everything you're saying, but also you have to admit that in the hands of Kubrick, this would have been a completely different experience. He would have explored completely different ideas. He didn't do that because that was Spielberg, but that doesn't mean that the ideas aren't interesting or timeless. I
don't disagree. I think that there are like some ideas and some questions that they could actually be asked in this movie that they are timeless. But as Spielberg just basically just look at them and then just move on with the rest of the movie, it's like, I don't think that it's completely fair to say this movie will have the potential to just address timeless questions when he didn't.
Yeah,
I cannot give him credit. I cannot give him credit for that. Yeah.
There's nothing timeless about the film that was made. I just feel like there's potential.
Yeah, there's potential, and it's like I wish, it reminds me of I know this is like pretty different, but look at what an Eno version of Suspiria compared with the Dario Argento one.
But the remake was so much better.
Exactly, it makes me feel that it's like, okay, this is like the other way around. Like Kubrick may have like amazing ideas. This guy did a movie that is what it is, and then we could actually just think about what about if someone. You look at Guadagnino, for example, or Alex Villeneuve. He actually says that, you know what? I want to remake AI, and it would be like just okay. It could be interesting, because the material is there, like the questions are there. You can actually just dig deeper into any of these questions and just turn it into a reflection of humanity. But as you did this, it's like it doesn't matter. The material could be good, if they're like potential. If the end result is something that I hated watching and is like completely stuck in time and it doesn't make me think at all, I cannot consider it timeless.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I'm going to change my answer to no. Because I think what could have been doesn't matter. What Steven Spielberg turned this into a film about, it's a piece of shit. So, yeah.
Okay.
No.
All right. So next question. Crap. Sorry.
This is a timeless piece.
Yeah, we already answered that one. I already said no. Would you turn this into a TV show?
Absolutely not. I don't want to spend any more time with these people that I've already spent at all.
Oh my God! I actually think that someone turned it into a TV show.
No.
And that TV show is Westworld.
God, do I want to watch Westworld?
No, you don't. You don't. A friend of mine from Spain, he was watching The Leftovers because I insisted him to watch it, but I told him, like, this is a drama in disguise with some mystery or whatever, but the mystery is a MacGuffin. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be like making sense. It's just a vehicle for just telling an elevated story. And he started watching, and after the second season, he hated it. He's like, look, I cannot keep putting up with this because there is like a lot of holes and there is no resolution. And he said, yeah, because it's not about the resolution itself, it's about the trip itself. And it's like, okay, I'm going to be like watching Westworld. And what I told him is that, look, if you want twists and surprises and mysteries that they keep resolving itself, and nothing of it like really, really, really matters, Westworld is perfect for you.
All right, well, that's good to know, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch Westworld tomorrow. I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about the TV show from HBO.
Yeah.
And it's like, I felt exactly as with this movie, that it was like a wasted opportunity for doing something of quality on the sci-fi genre, especially when it comes to cybernetics. There is like, what about if we actually question a bit more about our reality? And questioning our reality is not about like, oh my God, that guy was a robot all along. It's not about that. It's not like just a twist like this, it's a bit more about like just what makes us human. So...
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think this is a complete missed opportunity to make us think, what makes us human? What makes somebody not human if they have all of the, aspects of a human person? It's just a completely lost opportunity.
Yeah. So if someone, but the funny thing is, like, I still think, as you were saying, is there like potential for something. If someone took those ideas and turned it into a decent TV show, not Westworld, a decent TV show, is that I think that this could be good. I think, but it's a stretch. Just see like how bad.
I disagree with you, but I feel like this is like, look at AI. Do you want to watch 12 hours of AI? You don't. So yes, if you took some of the like ideas and you thought somebody with talent can like explore those, yes, that's true. But do you want AI? Do you want to watch 12 hours of Haley Joel Osment and Jude Law? You don't. You don't at all.
I don't. I mean, I haven't done anything this live or previous ones for actually deserving more. Now, Haley Joel Osment, like 9 hours of him, of mother him, is I could roll out with this. But what I'm saying is exactly what you were saying about like, the timeless piece or not, is that if we're talking about like with what we see, like these 2 hours and a half, no, I don't want this story turned into a TV show. That is usually what we ask. If I want like a bit more of the exploration of some of the questions that they are never explicitly asked, but they could be asked about it, is like, it could be good. But that's not the question. The question is about like this movie turning into a TV show.
Yes, I agree with you. No. The subject matter has potential. Do I want to watch more of this? No.
My answer is no. It's exactly also no. It's like with that basis, no. This was enough. 2 hours and a half, it was more than enough. Do you think that this movie could have been better?
Yes. There's endless ways that this could be better. Yes.
Yeah, I think that we just spent like a whole hour talking about like the multiple ways that this movie was not as good as it should.
I can name like 10 directors that I feel like this script in the hands of this director would make this better. It doesn't matter who I think those directors will be, but no, this is a shitty film. It's a shitty film. I'm upset I had to watch it. What else is there to say about this?
I have a question. I was thinking about like just random directors that they could direct this way, way better. And can you imagine a version of this directed by Gaspar Noé?
Yes, I can, 100%. It would be so much darker. It would be so much more painful, but I would get more out of it than I did with Steven Spielberg film.
Yep. Yeah, it would probably change my whole reality and just make me feel terrible too.
I probably would have turned it off and not finished watching it, but at least I would have had some sort of like appropriate reaction to the film.
Yep. Yeah, is that this is a bland movie.
Yeah, it's a piece of shit.
So, okay, we have said like so many times already that it's a piece of shit. Should we score this?
Yes, it was my pick, so you have to go first.
So my score, it actually changed quite a bit during this conversation, but it's going to be a 4.
What? Mine is a 2.5. This is like so... It's worse than mediocre, man. Like,
well, that's the reason why it's...
Let's Be Cops. This is a 2.5.
No. Let's Be Cops, it was significantly lower than 5 when we actually left the cinema.
No, you're right. You're right.
With this, I'm not sure if I could have left the cinema. I didn't leave it with Armageddon, so I think that I would have stayed for this. Okay, maybe it turns better, but the third act is like so insultingly bad. So like, what are you doing now? Are you trying to just manipulate me openly, open my feelings? It's like, should I just saw this guy smashing another guy's face, and it's like, now I should feel pity? Okay.
I also feel like I could be wrong, but like in the third act, Steven Spielberg stopped trying. He was like, I know you're watching this movie. I'm going to make you watch whatever I want to watch. And it wasn't worth it. It was like, fuck you, Steven Spielberg. Oh, no, I got really upset about this movie. I don't like it.
Yeah, 2.5 is one of your lowest scores ever.
It is, and I don't think that it's undeserved. I don't.
No, I agree. So should we talk about the next one?
Yes, so AI was my pick. I wanted to honor you and your science fiction love. So tell me, where are we going from artificial intelligence? Where?
So if you want to ever honor me in any kind of way, please just withdraw your intention. After seeing like your display here, it's like I'm good. Just let me be. Actually, I'm going to be like this. Making a twist now. We decided on a movie before this, and I think that we have been accumulating so much anger during this movie that I want us to channel it in something better than what I told you before. So I'm going to be surprising you. It's a movie that is not even on the list, and I think that we should watch it. And now that I think about it, it should have been like our movie 100, but the movie is Fight Club.
Oh, that's a great pick.
Yeah, but I felt like we were like just getting so infuriated that it's like I just think that it's better to just go with a movie that we know and love, and we have never talked about it here.
We haven't, and in our next episode, I can get upset about Chuck Palahniuk to you.
That's completely fair. Cool. Anything else to say about AI?
I mean, that's it. It's not the worst film in the world, but it's not... I wouldn't say it's worth seeking out.
Well, to be completely fair, is that you gave it the same score as Celine Dion's body.
I 100% agree with that rating. 100% agree.
We had to think that Celine Dion's body was 3 hours. And it was 2 hours and a half at least. They cut back. Just a tiny bit. The only thing that I can say is like this is a movie that if it's playing on TV and it's like one rainy day that you don't have anything else to do, and you're like trying to figure it out, and this like just pops up in front of you, run and don't
watch it. Go on a walk, organize your clothes. I don't know. Don't watch this movie.
Life is a beautiful thing. Is that there is so much more that you can do with your life that is 2 hours and a half, honestly. All right. Well, to everyone else that is just listening to us, thank you so much for listening.
And wash your hands and don't fucking watch AI.
Exactly. Just think on yourself. Bye.